Somehow it's been more than 5 years since the first Mario and Rabbids crossover game hit the Nintendo Switch. Where does the time go? The first entry from Ubisoft was actually a surprise hit. Originally revealed at 2017's E3, the game, which would see Mario, Luigi and the gang wield weapons, fight in XCOM style turn-based battles and feature the ever annoying Rabbids, confused as much as it intrigued, and I don't think the gaming public really knew what to make of it, with most expecting a disaster. So it was, as I say, a nice surprise that on release, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle actually turned out to be an award-winning smash hit and still sits with excellent Metacritic scores, and to date is one of my most played and most favourite Nintendo Switch titles. Gracing E3 4 years later, Ubisoft announced a sequel, promising to build on the first game and also provide a different slant on the tactics-based gameplay of the original. Sparks of Hope is that game, and what could have been an easy cash grab with just more of the same grid-based tactics gameplay with a different story. I'm looking at you, Disgaea. Sparks of Hope is a brave attempt to move the game in a new direction, expanding on the core concept in nearly every way, but keeping just enough flavour of the original game to keep its fanbase satisfied. Sparks of Hope takes place a period after the events of Kingdom Battle and sees a new baddie, Cursor, spreading a black goo called the Dark Mess all across the galaxy to drain energy for her own nefarious plans of domination. Also on her hit list are the Sparks, new creatures formed when crossing a Rabbid with a Loomis. The Sparks have elemental powers that can be harnessed and will prove to be perfect allies as Mario and the returning team, plus 3 new playable characters, travel to 5 worlds to cleanse the Dark Mess and face off against Cursor and her Spark Hunters. The expanded gameplay is felt almost immediately upon landing on the first world. Levels have an almost open world feel and are much larger than in Kingdom Battle. In Sparks you will have the freedom to explore 2 large areas per world, with secrets and shiny rewards hidden around almost every corner. Worlds now also feature free roaming enemies that you can battle at any time, as many times as you see fit, bringing the ability to grind for coins, XP and resources if required. Talking of battles, this is the other obvious huge change, with the grid-based movement gone, replaced with a more real-time movement element. The game still plays out in a turn-based fashion, with your heroes getting to move and act first before the enemy takes their turn, but now movement is in real time, albeit restricted to a constrained area. Now this doesn't feel as limiting as it sounds, as before long you're chaining running with sliding, jumping on an ally's head to glide across half the map, before jumping on a spring tile to whiz off in another direction to get into the perfect flanking spot for a headshot to one of a whole bunch of new enemy types. Each character has 2 skill points per turn, and whilst the early game the basic usage for these is using an item or your basic skill, before long you'll have access to 1 and then 2 different spark abilities. Equipping a spark will give you an active and usually a passive elemental ability, from giving your shots the ability to set enemies on fire to protecting or even healing your team. There are 30 sparks to find in the game, some hidden away in secret areas, others rewarded post-battle, and you're free to mix and match them between characters at any time outside of an active battle. The sparks can also be upgraded with star bits, colourful shining stars that spout of trees, bushes, enemies, blocks, and pretty much anything you do in the game, and these will strengthen your sparks abilities. You can also upgrade your party members by using a familiar skill tree, although I did find this a bit laborious to use, as upgrades have to be applied to each team member individually, and they all upgrade at the same time when the team level up. So going into skill tree for a character and picking upgrades feels a chore, especially when the skills on offer really aren't that exciting and offer something like more health, more range of movement, or an additional jump. One other major gameplay change is the ability to pick from 3 difficulty levels, where the original only had an easy or normal mode, but also featured some wicked difficulty spikes that I know caused some people to drop off the game. Sparks of Hope though has not only those 3 difficulty levels that you can change at any time, but you can even customise some of the difficulty elements individually to make your own custom skill level, plus the ability to switch on invulnerability if a level is really stumping you and allow you to just enjoy the story. Players can abuse this of course and sleepwalk through the game, but I still applaud Ubisoft for adding this as an option. I've not hit anything like the previous game's difficulty spikes yet in this one, some 10 hours in and coming up to my 4th world, but just knowing I'll be able to finish the game regardless if I do get stuck means I'm always motivated to push on. And that's not to say the game's a walkover on its default difficulty setting either. There are some really nasty fights to be had just past the first world that really make you think and have to shake your team up to match off against the best characters and sparks versus the resistances you're facing against. All in all though, the game is a triumph and exactly what you'd want from a sequel to a series you love. Yes, there's still some niggles. Your familiar robot from the first game, Beepo, has a super annoying voice now that constantly reminds me of Brian from Family Guy. The menus, including those skill trees, are lackluster, and the constant, albeit fairly quick loading times do tend to grate. But the pluses far outweigh any negatives here. Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope is a must-own for fans of tactical turn-based games, and I'd argue if you're new to the series, then with all of its improvements over every niggle of the first game, then this is absolutely the game to pick up over the original.